So it's the 26th of July 2023, just up on Ventnor Downs on the Isle of Wight. Just up at the east end of Coombe Bottom in the National Trust car park. The old thistles are very much in flower. Bees absolutely love these thistles. Little hoverfly there. Episurfus Balteatus, I believe. Yes. Marmalade hoverfly. Where have you gone? Oh, there you are. Smart little thing. Go down this way. Still a few bramble flowers for the bees, lots of blackberries as well. Ash tree. Elder coming through. Bit of gorse. Ouch. Sycamore. And hawthorn. Gotta love hawthorn. Lots and lots of berries forming on there now. Oh, get you in focus. Maybe not. Green woodpecker just called in the distance. What a cracking morning. There's an oryx, otherwise known as a cow. Nice foxglove still in flower. So the foxgloves love this gravel top on top of the chalk grassland, chalk downs. It gives acidic conditions, which obviously they love the acid conditions. So yeah, totally different plant community up here, where the gravel creates acidic conditions compared to the chalk slope below. There's holm oak, seedling, very invasive here. But the climate is turning into a kind of Iberian Mediterranean climate, so it will thrive. Perhaps we'll just have to learn to live with holm oak, which is a classic species of the Mediterranean. Just heard a willow warbler calling, like that. Nothing like that, but you know what I mean, maybe. Another hawthorn. Yeah, back to the acidic conditions. That's why you've got lots of heather up here. Of various sorts. Well, not various sorts, of a couple of sorts. There's a chalk downland down there in the Coombe, in Coombe Bottom. Goldfinch calling. So now, the end of July is when we begin to see the return migration of all the birds that have kind of been nesting in the UK but came up from Africa in the spring. The early movers are going to start to move, gradually work their way south now, heading back towards Africa. Still very early. It kind of peaks in August, that kind of land bird migration. And up here during August, oh, there's a willow warbler flitting around on the fence line just there. Gone down into the bracken. So that's a willow warbler. Be lots of those around kind of in the next few weeks. Still quite early for them. They've declined in the south, but a stable or have increased in northern England for some reason. Don't think it's entirely clear why that's happening. But yeah, willow warblers are now really, really rare as a breeding species down here. They used to be really, really common. But we still get loads on migration, so it's nice to see. A bit later the chiffchaffs will be coming through. They're still pretty common in the south. Is that willow warbler? There he goes. So the little industrial estate down the bottom is, I call it Old Station Road, but it's bottom of Coombe Bottom with Ventnor below that. And the little band of sycamores around the top of the kind of quarry that the industrial estate sits in. That band of sycamores is really, really good for migrants. Much later in the autumn, there's a white throat calling. Much later in the autumn. There's a couple of willow warblers in these sycamores. Wrens singing. So yeah, the willow warblers are coming through now, or starting to, but also things like redstarts will become increasingly frequent up here. And the redstarts, another migrant, obviously love these kind of dead trees and lone trees, this kind of wood pasture type habitat just below. And this fence line really, really loved by birds that just fly catch in. They sit along the fence line and just fly catch. Spotted flycatchers and redstarts and willow warblers, that kind of stuff. See aurochs on their way up. Domestic aurochs. So lots of bracken here on the gravel. Don't get the bracken down on the chalk, which is just down there where the cattle are. What a lovely view. Nice willow herb. I think it's rosebay. I assume it's rosebay willow herb anyway. So cattle down there and the magpies following them. Presumably looking for insects that are flushed out by the cattle. Back in the day, obviously, we used to have aurochs, which is wild cattle. So, yeah, basically we used to have the wild equivalent of these domestic cattle wandering around places like this throughout the countryside throughout Europe and other parts of the Pale Arctic. We domesticated aurochs, the wild species of cattle we used to have, and then we drove the wild species aurochs to global extinction, and we're left with these domesticated versions of them. So we domesticated cattle from those wild aurochs, and to some extent the domesticated versions still do the same kind of ecological things in landscapes that wild aurochs would once have done. They only became globally extinct, wild aurochs, I think it was about 1550 or something, so it wasn't that long ago. There are still wild versions of cattle in Asia, so you've got Banteng and Gower. Banteng tends to be in drier deciduous dipterocarp forest in Southeast Asia, and Gower tends to be in the more evergreen closed canopy forests. And I think our Oryx version, which was just another form of wild cattle, was probably in mixed landscapes of woodlands and open habitats like this. But we can't know really because they're globally extinct, unfortunately. But we do know what the domesticated versions of them do because we've got lots of cattle. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Anyway, end of the wild bovid ecology lesson. Back to birding. Looks like a white throat over there on the fence line. Might be a little family group. Yeah, so probably can't see it because of the lights, but so we've got a couple of willow warblers and a little family group of 3 white throats. They clearly like this edge early when it's sunny. Do excuse my flip-flops clumping and flipping and flopping. The buzzard's quite vocal down there. Plenty of dunnocks around. Dunnocks and whitethroats seem to have done well, so whitethroats. 2 whitethroats on the fence line. Actually, one's a dunnock. 1 whitethroat and 1 dunnock. And another whitethroat. Now 2 whitethroats in view. There's 7 or 8 willow warblers along here. Baby robin just on the fence. Lots and lots of activity. Mostly willow warblers and whitethroats. And little gangs of dunnocks on the path ahead. Blackbird. That was a song for us just a minute ago. Look at all the dunnocks. There's 5 in this view on the track. Blackbird just flown off. Whitethroat. And a willow warbler just, oh no, it's another whitethroat just behind. Very busy fence line this morning. So as the autumn progresses and we get into August, this fence line can be absolutely heaving. I mean, there's quite a bit around this morning, but it does get busier than this. Usually joined by spotted flycatchers and redstarts, obviously. Today it's almost entirely whitethroats and willow warblers, and obviously these dunnocks. So the dunnocks are resident. Willow warblers and, well, willow warblers are all migrants. Whitethroats are probably a mixture of, well, probably mostly locals actually. Bred here, there's lots of pairs of whitethroats here. Maybe some migrants, probably are. That's a wren off to my right. So come August, this area will probably be very attractive to wheatears. They love the short sward and these pillbox type things. This has potential for all sorts of nice migrants up here. Frighten the bee off. Well, can't see any wheatears and I need a cup of coffee, so that might be it for the morning up here, I think.